Welcome to The Kid is in School, where we talk about whatever we want since our kid is not here to interrupt us. But we don't have a lot of time before the bell rings, so let's get right into it. Fear of failure. How do you overcome it? Do you even have it, by the way? This is something I don't know about you.
You know about me. Come on now.
I think you refuse to believe in failure.
No.
If it pops up, you just put it down immediately.
I think that we all have a fear of failure. Well, I don't know about everybody. Some people seem to have a delusional confidence in themselves, despite what all the facts say about what their confidence level should be.
Right.
But
that's everyone who enters entertainment.
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, you have, I think maybe I've said this before, Mike Birbiglia had said, in order to be in show business in general, you have to have some healthy sense of delusion. Like, I know the odds are stacked against me, but I can, overcome these odds and make it.
Right.
I think there goes beyond delusional, healthy delusional, into an unhealthy delusional sense where people go, I'm going to be on SNL. We had some people in our early improv classes.
Yeah, they think because I want it, I should have it.
Yes. And there would be people that say, I want to be on SNL. And we're in our early improv classes, and they're beyond bad. It's something where if there's two choices, there's a right decision and a wrong decision for any scene that they created, any funny moment, they always chose the wrong one.
And that's a gift.
Yes, it's a gift. They didn't even stumble into the right one.
No, yeah.
And making it uncomfortable, making it hateful, making it disgusting.
I know, and I remember in the early improv days, I think the instructors would say, let's troubleshoot some of that. Just always yes and, just agree with each other, because negating each other, you're going to hit conflict a lot sooner and you're not going to know how to get out of it. But even with the yes and rule, some early improvisers, or just, people that off the street that take the class, are bad.
Oh, it's horrendous would be a compliment to
I like
people.
The Michael Scott character, when he does improv. Or there's Liam Neeson trying to do improv, but he's so serious in a bit that Ricky Gervais has. Anyway, it was a clip, but it was probably from a TV show. Anyway,
it was good.
It was funny. Yeah, if you see it, you'll like it.
Let's send people to other content while they're listening to ours.
I think it's based off of the real life people that we saw, though. It's funny to see it portrayed on TV, but it's also something to behold in person.
Sure, and that happens in stand-up comedy too, where there are people who I look at and I go, you're meant to be an accountant somewhere. You're probably a fabulous accountant. You are not meant to do comedy. Whatever sense that a comedian needs to be able to perform and grow and get better, they don't have it. It's
not just nerves either.
No.
Some people are very confident and comfortable.
Yes, it's that
saying unfunny things on stage.
Unhealthy delusion. So they turn silence into laughter in their brain somehow.
Right.
They turn groans into cheers.
Do you know what that reminds me of? In our early open mic days, there was a young man who had a script that he was sticking with, and he told his joke, and he says, wait for it, there it is. And there was
and there it wasn't.
There was no laughter, but I love that he had it planned of I know it'll take them a beat or two, but they'll get it. And there was just never a laugh.
It'll be here. Trust me, guys.
I love that moment. It still stays with me. So anyway, not just delusion, but you know what? It also could take being bad at statistics. If you just have no concept of probability and how good or bad or how likely something is to happen. So yeah, being bad at math, I think, can make you good in entertainment.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
Sure.
But back to fear of failure.
That's a joke, by the way.
I knew I had to
wait for it. There it is.
I could see you just trying to do math in your head of what does she mean? I'm I mean to make you laugh, sir. But when it comes to fear, what about a dread of failure? Everybody talks about a fear of failure and fighting that fear. It's well, what if you just think it's gonna happen unless you do something about it? Then I don't think you're really putting the fear away. I operated from a dread of failure through many years and then just sat on the anxiety.
Well, there is a big difference, I think, between a healthy fear of something, like fear of failure. I think a fear of failure should be part of a healthy outlook on anybody's career and success.
Because you're realistic.
You're realistic, and you're knowing,
fail.
I have to work for this thing. I have to put in effort. There's going to have to be work done for this thing. Versus somebody that doesn't fear failure at all, might not put any work into it. They just, yeah, sure, this will be fine. This is good enough. But then on the flip side, having crushing fear of failure can grind everything to a halt, and you don't put any work into it in that way either.
Right, you're paralyzed.
Yeah, I'm paralyzed because I know it's going to be bad. It's easier to not do something than to do something and fail. And part of what success needs is to embrace failure and to start to love failure, to go, okay, that didn't work. That's good because now I understand what doesn't work. I can move in a different direction and go, let me find something that does work.
Sure. I always admire people who didn't think, who accepted themselves. And even if it came out a little imperfect, they were so comfortable with themselves on stage doing stand-up that they would just roll with it. And that's not the same thing as being attuned to, oh, that didn't work and I should change this. It's more like everything works and I accept everything. I really do admire that perspective, even if it maybe takes you longer to get to success because you're not editing as often. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well,
you're still going with the flow and you have confidence, which is so huge in comedy. Like it makes
the
audience go, oh, I guess they are funny.
Well, you might be reading into their confidence and saying they think everything works. There are people like that, but there are people who are in their head going, that doesn't work, or they're listening to it later or reviewing things later and going, oh, that doesn't work well enough.
You can't really know what's going on in there. There's people can come across a certain way.
Sure. So, yeah, there's lots of opportunity to grow within failure.
There's a YouTuber I watch. She just does bargain hunting. She reached 1 million followers, but she says library without even caring. And now I've already seen Instagram videos about like, don't talk about how people pronounce things. But I was always corrected if I said something wrong to, speak in a certain way, make sure you're understood, So just somewhere deep embedded in my brain is like, you should know how to say library when you're an adult and you've got kids, unless it's colloquial and like in your community you say it. So she just says it without any self-awareness. Like, yeah, this is just how I pronounce this word. It's how I've pronounced it since the dawn of time. And I've never noticed that anyone else says it differently. And so I'm thinking, well, that didn't keep her from getting 1 million followers. The fact that she mispronounces that word, it's like, it's just how she says it.
Yeah, well, but that's a different thing to me too. And YouTube, there's a lot of this with social media and YouTubing where if something was done in a television studio with producers and writers and on-screen talent, that kind of thing would get weeded out. There would have been a producer that comes up and goes, the word's not library, it's library. And you need to pronounce it correctly because we're a professional show here. This is Good Morning America or whatever it is. We're not going to put you on air and have you say library.
I don't think they'd say it that way to her, but they might be thinking that.
No, well, it depends on how far it got. I think the first thing would be like, hey, so just real quick, just so you know, I think maybe you're not hearing something, but it's library. We're kind of focusing on the brary part. And
yeah.
Just to make sure.
It would be gently folded into
the... And at some point, though, I mean, if you were on a certain set, let's just say you were doing a movie, not just on-air talent, you could have a director that would be a little gruffer and say, you're saying the word wrong. Say it right.
If it was at all in the script, it would be important for the character to say it that way. And you're like, yeah, that's different. You're saying, different levels of professionalism call for different things. You know what I think happens at the higher up levels is you're not told that this is the reason we didn't move forward with you. You're just not included. Like,
sure.
It's just part of the rejection. You have to figure that out on your own. It's like, oh, it's because I'm too folksy, or I'm too this or that. I sound whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pick on somebody. I'm just saying sometimes you think, oh, you have to be a certain way and sound a certain way to achieve a certain goal. And it's like, not really. You could be an influencer and be folksy and, relate to a ton of people. And
sure. And something
the audience
like that,
will come.
There probably are what would happen, probably my guess, I don't really know about this, but like, I'm never afraid to just state an opinion as fact, whether I know anything about it or not.
That's good.
But it's with like a YouTuber that has millions of subscribers or followers. What probably would happen is like somebody that a big agency that wanted to work with them or would put them on air talent at like a Good Morning America or something like that. Probably they would start producing that person and say, you know, these certain words you're mispronouncing, or well, we need to get these. We just need to alter a few things, because they just automatically would just start wanting to alter things. And now they do that with everybody that's ever been in Hollywood. They want to alter things.
They sure do, and it starts with the appearance, really.
Appearance, names. You know, different Hollywood names.
Who you're dating.
Yes.
Who you're seen dating with. Yeah,
and so, like Arnold Schwarzenegger is an example. I think his first film that he did, I think, was credited as Arnold Strong or something like that.
Much better name.
Yeah, because like they're like, nobody can say Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they dubbed it over with a different accent because they're like, nobody can understand you. But somebody like that has a very strong sense of self and confidence, and some of that comes from previous success.
Oh, right.
If you're the most successful bodybuilder in the history of bodybuilding, and you've also got a real estate business that you've made a ton of money on, all before you get into Hollywood.
Right. There should be a study showing like if you've made money before you entered entertainment, you're probably okay with yourself.
Yeah, there's probably at least a sense of self that goes, I'm not going to be Arnold Strong. I'm going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm going to keep my accent. I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to use it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kept my name, and I'm married. I know the power of knowing your own name, or really liking your name, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's part of his identity. Well, I think I had to identify like this whole fear. It's funny to me how fear of failure can creep up. Also, this will be my last word on the matter. Even after you've got plenty of evidence that you can succeed at this, and that, you know, and there's all these inspirational Instagram videos about how you can value the right thing and prioritize the right thing and calm yourself and all this stuff. So I don't know. Speaking of that, I just saw an Instagram video, and tell me if you buy into this. It was like, if you've taken on too much of other people's energy, here's how you get rid of it. It's called dry bathing. And she proceeds to do some kind of Reiki movement where she swipes across her body, and then she swipes her arms, and then she says she gathers up the cords. I don't know what that means. And then she chops them with the other hand. It's invisible cords that she no longer wants to be attached to, and then throws them away with a little bit of a breath.
And this is an adult.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was like, you do it yourself and tell me how great you feel, is what she says. And then I'm looking through the comments to wait for people to be like, what is this? This is ridiculous. And everybody was like, I did it and it worked.
You know, the internet sometimes just draws in people that have issues. And so there's stuff like that where I'm like, I don't understand was it metaphysical or some sort of psychic energy stuff. So I'm not actually touching anything. I'm not, you know, I'm waving my hands over you, or it's like none of that means anything to me.
Right. Well, energy is a real thing, but as it's applied here is where they lose me. Like, I'm like, well, what is negative energy? Because I understand becoming upset or being overwhelmed. And I've recently learned the term dysregulated, of like, you know, your brain can't quite make the connections it wants to if it's in this heightened state. So, okay, I get that. But yeah, for me, it's very, when it comes to just energy and negative energy, and what this other guy was like, let water drop directly on the top of your head, and you'll have more mental clarity. And I'm like, I take a shower every day. I don't feel any smarter after my shower.
Well, it's too much water. You have too much drip on your head.
That's right.
Well, this is the thing. Like, for one, I think that, yes, energy is a real thing in terms of like science.
Right.
But that's a misuse of the term energy to be like, I have negative energy around my aura or whatever. It's like, that's not what they mean when they say energy. It's like, you know, energy is the type of thing that fuels propulsion or things like that. It isn't just some thing that's hanging around you like a cloud. And so the negative energy, I guess, would be that version. It's like there's no positive energy and negative energy in terms of science that I know
They're
of.
positive ions and negative, right? They're atoms. Atoms have
You're talking about like
electrons
and neutrons.
Yeah.
And
Positive, yeah.
protons.
Yeah. It's not like these words don't exist. See, I love languages and trying to and I also like cracking codes. I like puzzles. That's what I should have said. I don't crack anybody's code. I have not solved who the what's that killer called? That serial killer?
I don't know which one you're talking about.
Oh, the one that writes in code from the 50s.
Oh, we're talking about.
They made a bunch of movies about
the
him.
Zodiac.
Zodiac. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't solved the Zodiac killer. I don't crack those kind of codes. But what I'm trying to say is,
you didn't even crack his name, by the way.
I didn't even remember, and that has been revealed. Well, I just love to figure things out, and so I try to understand people. So if someone says that crystals mean something to them, like holding a certain crystal makes them feel this or that, then I want to know. I wonder why that is for them, and I don't think it's just them playing pretend. I think they're investing some imagination into it, but there also must be seeing results and then having some kind of confirmation bias, right? This worked for me last time. Our daughter says, I have good luck every time I see a not in service train. And so I'm like, that's great. I agree with her so that I'm not ticked off every time I see a not in service train.
Look, I mean, I guess if it works for you, but for example, because you were just to step back two statements, maybe when you were talking about positive and negative charges,
everything I forgot from science class
in an atom. Yeah, but that isn't the same thing as having negative or positive energy like the way that people were talking about.
Yeah.
You can use any word and say, I got cracklins all around me. And you're like, yes. What do you mean cracklins? And you're like cracklins is a thing, guys. It's like, yeah, but that's like fried up pork. Like, what are you talking about? No. In this case,
the pigskins of the universe
are all,
that surround you.
They're in a non-visible light source, around you. It's like, okay, that all that's a bit silly. And so, but if people use terms, that's kind of what I guess pseudoscience is. Using terms that are scientific in a non-scientific way.
Okay.
Or to make things sound scientific that are maybe nonsense. Mm-hmm. So.
It turns out snake oil is good for you.
Yeah. That's why we have a closet full of snake oil
it's essential. Here. Yeah. If it's the right kind of snake. Back then, snake oil meant nothing because it was just.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
I see what you're saying.
I think that in general, like any of this stuff, because it can't be a version of snake oil. Any magic cure to anything is probably not true. So in order to feel better physically, I don't think that probably what's going to happen is that you wave your hand over your body and all of a sudden physically you're going to feel better. Because I think that makes people feel good, maybe, about controlling something.
Okay.
But the much harder thing to do to feel physically better is to go exercise or to eat healthy.
Oh, we're talking specifically about weight loss, yeah.
Well, not just weight loss, but just physically feeling better.
Yes. Altering your diet, yeah. Yes. I was going to say to the touch, there's Reiki, which is you will generate some heat if you hold your hand above your arm. You'll feel the energy passing between your hand and your that's actual science. But
is it?
Yes, I'm talking about friction. There's a word.
There's no friction there if they're not touching.
Okay, I'll look it up for you just to prove it because I have to get through this thought. So the whole point is human touch is comforting and human almost touch is comforting. And it's exciting. I don't know if you remember this when you were in middle school, to be close to the person you have a crush on because you can feel the warmth of their body almost next to you. So you're like, ooh, so it's not like there isn't anecdotal evidence to support people saying, no, I experienced something positive from this. And then there's other studies that will show why tapping is beneficial to your psyche and slows your heart rate, and why breathing slowly can slow your heart rate, which signals you're empathetic and blah, 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 blah.
The scientific blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
This isn't that kind of podcast. But so it's not like I think where you fall in the camp of it's rooted in nothing and people are are deluding themselves. And I am thinking,
Sort of.
yeah, and I think it's rooted in something, but people are kind of getting a little confused along the way.
I would say they're just deriving too much meaning from it.
Okay.
So like you're talking about the hand, it's like, well, I'm sure what we're feeling is your body is a certain temperature, the room is a certain temperature, the air molecules in between your hand and somebody else's body, you're warming them, and
yeah, there's a
as you move your hand,
heat is passing through. Like that's the whole point.
You're warming the air around, so you feel that, and then you're passing. If you start moving your hand around, now you're moving the air molecules around. So like, do you feel something? Yeah, the essentially the breeze that you're creating from moving wind.
Sure, and that's why rubbing your hands outside when you're cold and it creates heat, warmth. I'm talking about the basic principle of whatever that is. That actually you can conjure heat.
Well, and
warmth.
Again, if you are touching things and you are creating friction, if you're not touching anything, you're not creating friction between those two
right,
things.
but there is something is scientifically happening. I'm speaking in scientific terms as best I can for you. So that
I think just by saying the word science is the only thing that you're being scientific. In science, they do scientific things.
This is like somebody, I'm trying to lift way over what I can actually lift above my head.
I mean, like, I'm not a scientist either, but there are just some basic things that I think that we all learned in school or should have learned in school.
Yeah, but if a rose quartz, where they lose me is this crystal, maybe it feels different than this other rock. These are two minerals. We've got agate. Why agate? No, amethyst and a quartz. Let's say they feel different. Texture-wise, they're bumpier. Maybe they weigh a little bit differently, and maybe one is cooler than the other, and that's why they feel differently in your hand. But somebody will say, this brings clarity, and this brings peace. And that's where I'm like, that's too much. That's you've added too much significance to it now.
Yeah, I think that if you're actually feeling something like warmth or anything from a rock, it's probably radioactive, and it is it's breaking your cells apart.
But congratulations, because you're a superhero now. All right. Well, breaking news. Our daughter lost, what is this, her fifth tooth?
Fifth tooth.
In, I feel like a few months.
It's been quick. Bottom two, real quick. I think maybe we were on our break from the podcast in between season 1 and 2 when she started losing teeth. And so now she's up to 5. This was the 5th today.
I just don't remember losing all of my teeth. I know all the baby teeth came out at some point, but I remember like twice finding a quarter under my pillow, by the way. The tooth fairy only gave me a quarter.
I was $2.
It's nice. Maybe I got a buck, but I feel like it was all in quarters.
Yeah.
And I was happy to have it. But our daughter got a $5. I don't think I chose that number.
I think I chose it based on inflation, based on my $2.
Wow.
I was like, if it's been this many years, and
you're a real economist.
Inflation calculator, I think it would be $5 would be the equivalent of what I got when I was her age.
And the first few times she lost it, she asked for like $1 million, and then we gave her a bunch of coins and added up to $5. And then the next time she asked for 10. And then I think she asked for 7. So she kept going down, like, maybe she'll give me a little more if I'm more reasonable. And it's like she keeps getting a 5. So this time I was like, I bet the tooth fairy should give you a quarter this time because that's a really tiny tooth. And she looked at me like, I don't think so. She's my friend. She'll give me 5.
Yeah, which I wasn't prepared for this tooth to fall out. So I don't have money. Like I don't have the right amount. So like now I got to like go through. This is a thought. I thought maybe we just we started a little savings account we just put a note that says, I have deposited $5 into your bank account.
Yeah, or a $5 coupon to Hardee's or something. Like,
Hardee's.
Do we have anything that we can clip from a magazine? Well, magazines don't exist anymore.
No,
but
all of what you said.
I want to borrow the neighbor's newspaper and find a coupon.
You wanted a coupon to Hardee's from a magazine that you clipped. None of those things exist anymore.
That's too bad.
Our area at all.
I was going to suggest using scissors. Do we have scissors anymore?
We do have safety scissors, and lots of them for some reason. So yeah, it's going to be interesting trying to deal with this tonight because do we do that? Do we do like electronic? Like, hey, I've donated $5 to a wildlife relief fund in your name, type of thing. Those type of gifts that people give at
I think she wouldn't even put her tooth under her pillow after that. Knowing her, she'd be like, what is this betrayal?
Yeah.
This is why I don't like the whole Santa Claus thing and Tooth Fairy thing, it's not because I don't think kids should flex their imagination. It's because parents get all worked up over, oh, I have to do it the way I did it last time. And I'm not sweating it. I would just say, don't put your tooth under there tonight. She's busy. I got a text from her. She's not coming to our neighborhood this
Let
month.
me see that text. Let me see your phone. I want to see this text from Tooth Fairy.
I changed the password.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm waiting for the day when she looks enough like me that she unlocks my phone.
Yeah.
You know, like her head gets a little bit longer instead of being a big toddler head.
I didn't think about that. That's funny to like think about face recognition and having somebody in your family that looks like you. I mean,
yeah, can twin brothers
open? Be
open?
able to do that, right?
I wonder, maybe.
You know, it's funny because like, you know, you and your mother look a lot alike, different skin color, but like similar shaped face and look. But she's 25 years older than you.
Mm-hmm.
So like you don't look the same. You look like she looked 25 years ago. And so would that face recognition just last forever?
I should try. The day I can open my mom's phone, I guess I should be like, oh no. What happened? No, we've always looked alike, and then I passed those genes down to my daughter, but it's we'll see. I was just kidding though. I don't really think she can open my phone.
No, I don't think so either. She's got my round head. Not like what type of head do you have? Like in terms of like Muppets.
Yeah.
You've got a Bert head?
I guess, yeah. One would say it's oval, it's long, and at least when you're facing the front. But you know what I noticed in a wedding photo? When I straightened my hair for our wedding, I have a really flat top head. Like you could put a glass on the top of it like a table and it wouldn't fall.
I've got a flat back of my head.
Oh, no.
Like, so
your parents were supposed to rotate you.
I guess it's supposed to be rotated. So I was laid on the back of my head too much. So I've got the flat back. You've got the flat top. I don't know if your mom was laying you on the top of your head.
Kid has a blockhead. No, it's funny. Our daughter says very frequently, like, you know my big watermelon head? And I'm like, I really regret having said that to her, but I was saying it as a teasing way. Like, look, I love your big, it's like a light bulb. It's like a big, round head. And I was admiring the circumference, especially because I have a flat top. But she now refers to it as her big watermelon head, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. I said to her, I was like, does it bother you at all that I ever said that? Because I meant it as a compliment. She goes, no, I think it's great. I'm like,
well,
okay.
First of all, she doesn't have a big head. She has a little peanut head like me.
Really? You feel like her head is small?
Yes.
It's just so perfectly round. It's like a balloon. It's like a fully blown balloon to me.
I've a very round head. She gets the roundness from me, except for the back, because we didn't keep her on the back of her head. Well, it's funny because like in my family, my nephew and I have a similar appearance. You know, and we're not twins or anything, but like I think people could see that we look like family members. His sister, and both of them are my brother's children. You know those apps that let you look at what you would look like as a woman.
You did a face swap,
swap. So I did myself as a woman, and it just looked like my niece.
That surprised me, because anytime you tell me who you look like in your family, I categorically disagree, and including your nephew. But now that you did remind me of that, you're right. I was like, oh my gosh, you look just like your niece here.
It was like almost looking like a picture of her, and I was like, this is really weird.
Yeah, all they did was soften your face and take away the facial hair. I hope you didn't tell her that, though. Did you text it to her?
I most likely did. Knowing me, I probably sent it to everybody in the family. Like, can you believe this?
And she's like, stop it, Luke.
Yeah, because I would have guessed more like my sister, Vicky. She and I got comparisons a lot. And I have an older sister. We both have older sister.
Her name is also Vicky.
Yeah, Vicky. And my brother's name is Vicky, which is weird.
George Foreman was very popular at the time.
Yes, everybody gets named. My dad's name's Vicky. My mom's name's Vicky.
And you're Luke for some reason.
I know. My first name's Vicky. I go by my middle name.
Okay, well, that makes sense now.
So.
But your older sister, you did not favor her, in your opinion.
Not that I would think of. And my brother either, but my other people in my family have said, oh, you look just like your brother. And especially maybe as I've gotten older and gotten to the age that they remember him at, because he's 17 years older than me. So like, I don't think they necessarily think of him now they might start thinking of him of what he looked like
in his prime
10, 15, 20 years ago. So yeah, there's those family members. And you, in your family, it's interesting because you have a niece that very similar to your sister, where it was kind of like, whoa, that's a strong family resemblance there. And but your brothers, I don't see it. And so it was almost like whatever genes got mixed up.
Yeah,
your sister
I love when
got
they
them,
skip
and then
a person.
A niece got them, and it was like, oh, you two look kind of, which I guess is kind of true with me and my niece, where it's like somehow we ended up with the same looking genes, whereas the other people in our family didn't.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me. The only thing I don't like about going back in time is that you have to keep adding people that everybody's made up of. So it's really hard to say, like, okay, who does this person resemble? Because that's like, you got this person's eyebrow and that person's ear. But I may have said this before too, I always like the idea of going to like some castle and seeing a portrait of somebody that lived long ago and it's my exact face. And you're like, like, I don't know what that is about. Not that I need to be the
That's
Highlander.
Usually in like a Scooby-Doo episode, isn't it?
It's creepy.
Like, it's me.
Well, I have a personal theory that it's about longing for a connection to my ancestors. But just, or feeling like, you got this from somewhere. I mean, the more logical explanation is, you have your mom's nose and your dad's ears. Like it's easier if you just look directly. But I like thinking of it, like the genes skipped a few generations. It's fascinating.
Well, that reminds me, there is a great grandfather. I'm not sure exactly how many grandfathers up it is.
I think 3 up. I know what you're about to say, so I think it's 3.
Yeah, whereas he and I look very similar. And it's like, how did that happen? Because my grandfather and I do not look anything alike, which is my dad's dad. Even me and my dad, we have some resemblance, but like it's not like twins or anything at his age particularly.
Yeah.
And then my grandpa's dad looks like my dad, but doesn't look like me, I think. And so then I think it's his dad somehow looks like me, which is like 4 generations later.
Yeah, if I could paint a picture for the audience. Okay, your dad looks like the man that invented eHarmony. And then his dad looks like Brian Dennehy. And then his dad looks like... who's the guy from Christopher Guest shows that's always got like the glasses and he speaks very quietly, calmly. So it's just a shorter man. He looks with small round glasses. And then the guy above that is you with a handlebar mustache.
Yeah. It's like me plus Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
Like if I was playing Wyatt
like
Earp in something.
in a costume. And I'm like, what? That's so weird. But your dad, gave us a little book where he put together some family photos and then he assembled it as a little family book and he shared it with everybody. And I was like, that's funny. Yeah. None of these people look like you. And then that guy is you wearing a mustache.
Yeah, it's all of it's very bizarre. And long term, like, I don't feel a super connection to those ancestors. But, and then someday, is there going to be 5 generations after me? There's going to be somebody that's like, whoa, who's this? Your great-great-grandpa was a comedian and he looked like you.
You're an ancestor. I didn't think about that. I know somebody's thought about it, but I didn't till just now.
I will be.
Whoa. I mean, what is time?
Well, I mean, we could get into that.
If you get into that, then you gotta like crystals. You've gotta be able to feel the crystals.
Time, well, in some ways, time can be kind of like that. Crystals is like, so I just watched Interstellar, which is a movie from like 12 years ago.
Why do you always point out how old it is, by the way?
Because if I say it like, hey, I just watched this, people are like, that came out a long time ago.
But I still haven't seen it, and Matthew McConaughey looks exactly the same.
He really does, which is kind of odd.
But go on.
So what is time?
It's a flat circle, as he says in True Detective.
It's a flat circle. So in this, there is some science about black holes. And so for one, the closer you go to the speed of light, the time slows down.
Okay.
But also around black holes, the closer you are to a black hole, time slows down as well. And
because it's sucking you in so fast, or what?
I don't know the full science there, but let's just say that is why.
Okay, good.
That is what happens. And if you want to know why, there's a Neil deGrasse Tyson video on this.
It's a Dyson vacuum.
So in this, it reminded me, like, time being a fluid thing. It isn't just a absolute. Here on Earth we have our thing, which is,
it's linear.
How many times the Earth spins around and goes around the sun. We're talking about days and years, and that's how we are defining those words.
Right.
But really, within space and time, those things are not as concrete as they would be in our definition of it here on Earth.
Okay. Oh, right, because it's all relative. How many times something goes around the sun.
Yeah, the general theory of relativity.
It's a theory. It's a theory of relativity. No, but I mean, the reason I believe that the reason I can accept that, let's say, time feels like it's slower when you're going faster is because when you're in an airplane, you don't feel the same way you do in a car when a car speeds up. Like an airplane gets so fast at some point where you just stop, like feeling pressed back into your seat.
Part of that is because you are now traveling at that same speed. Mm-hmm. So why doesn't it feel like you can walk on an airplane and whatever? You are traveling the exact same speed that the airplane is.
That's right.
Your body is moving at the same in a car. Like you're moving that exact speed.
I'm the fastest woman alive.
Yes.
Along with everybody else on the plane.
Which is why in a car, we'll say a car crash, but any sort of crash, what kills you usually is the immediate stoppage of you doing that. So like,
the energy, if you will. It's got to be energy.
The energy transferring. So yeah,
I'm going to read a real book on energy and come back in the next podcast sounding so smart.
Oh, you're going to, first of all, this is too much science for the type of podcast this is.
But it's just the right amount of ignorance, I must say. Like, this is classic us. I think in our first episodes, we were talking about things we had no idea about. And then we were arguing with each other about it. No, that's not it.
Yeah, the kid is in school. We aren't. We're not learning things.
I know, school is so long ago. And yet I still have dreams that I am in a class and have to catch up. Either that, I have a dream that I have to make up for some class I've been missing all year, or that I have to figure out some actual day job I used to have. Do you have any nightmares from 20 years ago?
Well, first of all, maybe they aren't nightmares. Maybe you're just living at the speed of light in your dreams. And so you actually are in school at that time.
That's probably true.
Probably. Most likely that is true.
That makes more sense than you think it does.
I don't know. I used to remember dreams a lot more. The only phenomenon I really feel more than other people maybe is deja vu. Oh. I used to get deja vu all of the time, and I don't get it very much anymore, but I used to get it all of the time. Mm-hmm. And I had a girlfriend at one point that she goes, that's not real. Like, you're not actually experiencing this over again. Mm-hmm. It's like your brain's processing something a little quicker, or your eyes are seeing something in your brain's taking a second to process it. So you're actually
playing a trick on you somehow. Like interesting.
And I was like, but I had a dream about this that I remember.
And you said that.
Yeah. And she's like, no, that's not real. So
yeah, she burst that little bubble, but it is really something when you feel like something's real, like deja vu. Deja vu always feels real. I like seeing how long it can last. It never lasts longer than a few seconds, but you're just like, and then what else happened? Like my hands like float in the middle of the air and I start looking around like I'm wading in a pool and I'm like, then what's happening next?
Yeah. Well, that is one phenomenon that I guess I do believe somehow. And I don't know how.
But you don't accept her scientific explanation of it?
No.
Really? It's not just brains being silly?
I know. As much as I discount any sort of energy and all of this stuff, but only because I haven't experienced those maybe. Uh-huh. Whereas deja vu and dreams, feeling like I had dreamt something ahead of time, something happening, feels so real, and I have experienced it multiple times, but it's never anything good. It's never like, I knew I dreamt about this moment happening of this person winning the lottery and those are the numbers.
Right. It doesn't benefit you in any way.
No, it's like, oh yeah, we were all sitting around the kitchen playing cards like this.
And then you walked in and said, does anybody want burgers? And then someone else said, yeah, I know. It's always like that. It's like this, but to me, that's why it's got to just be a brain fog.
Yeah, that makes the most sense because it's of no benefit whatsoever. Like, why would God be giving me these dreams? Because dreams happen in the Bible where God will give people dreams that help either predict the future or kind of give them a sense of what is going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And it's God speaking to them, and there's no benefit. And like, why would he be saying, like, what's going to happen is you're going to unload the dishwasher. And it's like,
and there will be a fork backwards. And you're like, who puts forks in the wrong way? Well, I may have told you this, that when I dream, I've smoked a cigarette. I have the recall of, oh yeah, I've been doing this for years. And then I wake up and I think, I have still never smoked a cigarette in my life. So I cannot, maybe it's because I've dreamed it so many times, but it's like, I'm genuinely confused about, have I smoked or haven't I smoked when I wake up until I'm fully awake. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's just a dream. But it's so strange to me in the dream. Every single time I'm like, yeah, this is me and this is what I do.
This is what I do in my dreams. I smoke.
I'm a smoker in my dreams.
I have unhealthy habits in my dreams.
Did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind mess you up?
No, it didn't mess me up. I enjoyed the movie, but
it was very creative. But to me, it always made me suspicious of dreams. Like, oh, your dreams are your true self and trying to tell you something about you.
I guess that's a takeaway from that. I didn't take that away. I think that usually the only things in movies that mess me up only happened since I've become a dad.
Oh,
which is any sort of father-daughter relationship or I can't watch any child getting hurt. I think I've said that before. Like I can't.
You'll never watch the Taken franchise.
No, I can't. Well, it's the kid. I mean, how old is this dad? Like
he gets the kid back, I believe.
I know, but I assumed the kid was like 17 or 18. I didn't assume that they were like 7. Like
so it has to be a little kid.
Yes, it can't be somebody's adult child. Like
why? Your child will be an adult someday.
We have your daughter. She's 34.
Keep her. Yeah. She needs to see more of the world.
This is really her husband's responsibility now. I gave her away at the altar.
Husbands, how patriarchal.
12 years ago.
So are you saying that you feel squeamish about shows where kids get hurt, or you...
Yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me anymore. So there's just nothing entertaining about that to me. So just not
the idea that it was entertaining before is funny too, though.
Well, it just didn't bother me. Like it could
used to be hilarious.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a movie where, some kid dies or something like that.
Well, what about Home Alone, when Kevin's left home alone and his mom
that's fine,
tries really hard to get back to him? Doesn't that pulls at my heartstrings?
Interstellar, to use that one again.
Yes, please.
Definitely, it's a father-daughter relationship in this whole thing.
But she's an adult.
It's not always, because remember, he gets near a black hole, so like
wow, I made myself snort just then.
Different ages, so
okay, so yeah, when she's a little
time is a circle in this one. So
yeah, why did you bring up Interstellar? Did you make your whole point about it? I wonder.
Well, because in Interstellar, they are going in through space, and they're traveling through like a wormhole. They're going through, getting near a black hole, and so to not spoil it for you,
thank you.
They just jump through time a little bit, where Matthew McConaughey's character spends a couple hours on a planet, but that ends up equaling like 30 years back on Earth.
What's the big message, you think? That it's about enjoy the time you have with people?
The big message. I don't know if I look at
there has to be.
Messages.
I know you don't. You and I don't look at movies the same way. What's that thing I always say? And you're like, I never think that. I say, I didn't learn anything from this movie.
Yeah, there's nothing that makes me angrier than hearing somebody say, I didn't learn anything from a movie. Good. You weren't supposed to. It's a movie. It's entertainment.
I get infuriated if I can't figure out the takeaway, the moral of the story, the whole point of why. That's why David Lynch movies just
did you have a good time for 2 hours? That's the meaning of this movie. It's not, I learned something. First of all, you don't seem to have learned anything from movies because you don't know any of the science behind them.
And I don't retain the, you could have spoiled Interstellar. I still would have forgotten it.
Yeah.
But that's my ADHD. That's a treat from my beautiful brain. Thanks for joining us today. If you had a great time, let us know on social. Follow Kid is in School on Twitter and The Kid is in School on Instagram. Subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Be sure to throw us one of those 5-star ratings and share with your friends. Oh, and do it quickly before the kid gets home.